Namaskar. What are the intangibles of excellent health? By intangibles, I mean those activities or practices that we can do which are not easily measurable. Tangible activities we can measure, like diet, exercise, deep sleep, relaxation. But these other intangibles are something more related to our mental and spiritual aspects of life. So the first one I'd like to say is compassion, empathy, and social service. When we can feel empathy and compassion for others' sufferings, it opens up our heart center. And if we can actually do some social service, then we actually escape momentarily our small I feelings. And we actually realize how lucky we are seeing the suffering of other people whom we're trying to help. The most happiest moments of my monk life, I remember, was when I was doing relief work for victims of the tsunami in Aceh in 2005, and victims of the drought and famine in Ethiopia in 1984, because it was so meaningful in helping people who are in great need. So it reminds me of a story that I remember when I was in Aceh. We were a team and we were going from house to house. There was no more houses standing. We were going from family to family and interviewing them to ascertain their needs. Pretty well, they needed everything, actually. And we came to, it was a long day. We were feeling very tired. It was hot and humid. And we had come to the property of a fisherman who lived by the sea. He had lost everything. And we did our interview, and then his sense of hospitality came very strong, and he thought, what can I offer these people? But actually he had nothing. But on his small piece of land, there was one coconut tree that had survived the tsunami, the earthquake. So he climbed up the tree and he plucked a few coconuts for us. And we were sitting on one of the fallen coconut trees in his property. And he offered that coconut water to us. And I can say until today, it is the sweetest tasting drink I've ever had. Mother Teresa, who spent most of her life in the slums of Calcutta, she referred to the Western world's poverty of spirit, meaning that although material affluence is available, but people, their minds and their spirits are lacking what they should have in spite of their material well-being. It reminds me of a beautiful quote I remember reading from Tagore. And the quote says, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and realized that life is service. And I acted, and behold, service was joy. So I interpret this to mean that when we are spiritually sleeping, we think life is about physical joys, physical pleasures, eating, sleeping, procreating. And when we awaken spiritually, we realize that life is not just about us, but it's more about others. And when we act on that idea and we serve, we realize that actually service is a higher joy than any other type of joy. The second intangible that I'd like to share is humor. When we can step back and try to find the humor in a situation, it helps to reduce the intensity of that painful situation we're in. We take the observer mode and we're detached from what's happening to us directly. One of my colleagues has this quality so well that he's the most popular amongst our family of renunciate and members. And the Sanskrit word for the imperfections of this physical world is lila. Lila means divine play. So if we can remember this, the idea, the yogic concept that everything is a thought projection of that cosmic consciousness, that cosmic mind, like it's play, then it helps us to be detached from situations that are very uncomfortable or unpleasant. The next intangible is walking in nature. Being out in nature is always related to some kind of fun activity, whether it's sports, hiking, gardening, cycling. It could be any type of activity where we're moving our body. That movement of the body in the sunshine, in the fresh air, it activates those happy hormones that release tremendous amounts of stress and keep us in a light mood. And so I remember one of my colleagues, she said her sweetest memories of Korea were the hilltop hermitages. You know, the monks would live in these hermitages, retreat centers in the hilltops. And because of the beautiful vibrations, people would like to come there and meditate with them for a day, a weekend, or longer. And all temples and retreat centers and spiritual centers are found surrounded by nature because of the beautiful vibrations that we feel. And they encourage us to go within and meditate. The next intangible is self-acceptance. And it means to accept ourselves. This empowers us greatly, our good and our bad, whatever it is. You know, the bhakti yoga approach. My master used to say this little story that when a child is walking and he falls in the drain, so the others might look down upon his carelessness, but his father will pick him up and dust off his clothes and say, "My boy, walk carefully next time, be careful." So this feeling of unconditional love, non-judgmental, and accepting, if we can accept ourselves in this way, it releases tremendous amounts of energy and inspiration to do great work. So if we can remember, again, the bhakti yoga approach, the approach of devotion, says that we have a permanent relationship with that eternal well-wisher within us. And this will carry us through so many challenges of life. Next intangible is gratitude. To be grateful for what we have. And if we really think about it, when we think coolly and objectively, we really have so much to be grateful for. And when we can bring this memory frequently throughout the day, gratitude element, our moods become light and we feel much, much better in all levels. I remember a beautiful quote I read sometime. It said, your altitude, it's your attitude, not your aptitude, determines your altitude. So this is important. The next intangible is aligning our work and our play, everything we do, with our life purpose. Discovering our life purpose and living according to our life purpose releases so much joy. Work and play merge. We don't feel a need to do anything else because we're loving what we actually do. And this is really important. I don't have a need to escape or go on a holiday because I love what I do. And so I'm constantly inspired by my activities which are aligned with which I feel is my life purpose. Well, this is an important thing to search and discover and live according to that. Because that when we do what we love and we love what we do, nothing is impossible for us. Closely aligned to that is the next intangible, which is aligning our purpose with our moral compass, making sure that our moral compass is pointing in the right direction. So in our yoga channel, we teach the yamas and niyamas, the 10 moral principles, those ethical principles that guide us in any situation. And when the mind is purified by living an ethical, purposeful life, then our blood is pure. And our blood is the medium, which carries oxygen to all the body cells and all the body parts to keep us healthy and in good shape. You know, there's a small country called Bhutan, and they have what they call a gross happiness index. Most countries measure their progress by an economic element like gross national product, GNP. But Bhutan has different parameters they use, which are not economic. GNP is more economic aspect. And so some of those parameters are community involvement, psychological well-being, education, free time, use of free time, ecological diversity, cultural diversity and resiliency, and health. So the last one, of course, is an economic one, living standards. So it reminds me of another quotation I saw under a caption, under a billionaire. It says, he's so poor, all he has is money. So these non-intangibles really, really help us. And the next one I'd like to talk about is the listening to the sentient music. You know, sound is the subtlest of the 5 vibrations, along with touch, form, taste, and smell. So that's why the yogic tradition has always used sound as the medium for bringing the mind inwards, because of its subtle vibration and effect on our mind. So, you know, you may have heard about those interesting experiments back in the 1970s in the book Secret Life of Plants, where the scientists measured the nerve receptors of the plant seemed to indicate more energy and more activity when they were exposed to mantra music, soothing music, as opposed to heavy metal or rock music. And today there are so many relaxation apps and sleep therapy apps that use sound, soothing sounds, to calm us, relax us, and help us to get a good sleep. The next intangible is healthy social environment, what in this channel we've been calling satsanga, good company. And that, you know, we as human beings, we are social creatures. We love to associate with others. It's our nature. So if we have a supportive environment where people are striving to improve themselves and improve the lives of others, that is so liberating for our health, all around health. So to this end, we try to start intentional communities all over the world where people live and they are, you know, they have their independence, but they live in a community also where there's regular collective practices of meditation and so on. And they become like spiritual hotspots because they attract so much beautiful vibrations by that good, healthy social interaction. In Japan, it's called moai. And the Japanese, they, you know, in Okinawa, one of the longest living communities in the world, they form a close, moai means a close-knit family tie with the elders and the children, and helps them to see through any problem of life. And so this is the siblings fight over who's going to take care of the elders in their old age. So this healthy social environment is very important. And in these intentional communities, I remember one time it was in Brazil, in 1994, and Brazil had just won the World Cup. In our intentional community in Porto Alegre, we were having a retreat that time. And everybody was so happy. The whole night they were doing the Bhavanam Kevalam, you know, the kirtan. With those beautiful, uplifting musical vibrations, people were going into spiritual ecstasy and spiritual joy, created by that beautiful vibrations of the Bhavanam Kevalam mantra by all of those spiritually inclined people. So these are some intangibles. And I think the more that we can incorporate them into our daily life, the more we can remember them daily, they will bring about our all-around excellent health, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Thank you. Namaskar.